Hello, beautiful listeners and viewers. Welcome back to another episode. We are so excited that you are here to join us. I am feeling very honored today. I have a friend of mine named Mandolin Brown, who is our guest today. She lives in Ontario, Canada, and she is in a busy phase of her life and has made time for us. She is an expert on how the Heal Your Life work corresponds with psychosomatic illness and how emotions are trapped in the body. And that is our intention of to what to speak on today. As you know, sometimes the conversation just goes other places, but that is our intention. And welcome to the show, Mandolin.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for inviting me to your show.
Oh, it's so great to have you. I have met Mandolin through the Heal Your Life work. And it's so interesting because as we meet people, and you all know this, all of you viewers and listeners, as we meet people through our lives, we find that, we come from similar backstories. And the most important thing is that we've learned to overcome these obstacles and to be able to move forward and to work through things. And Mandolin shared with me that one of the big obstacles that she worked with was overcoming illness in her life that was brought on by trauma. And Mandolin, I don't want to tell your story for you, so I'll just let you start where you want to start, and I'll jump in here and there, but try not to interrupt you too often. But maybe start us off with when you knew that something was wrong that you were unable to explain.
Sure, Victoria. So I guess I'm just gonna take a step back for a moment and just sort of preface the story with I was somebody who went through a lot of trauma throughout my life as a child, and then I was a troubled teenager, and then I went through toxic relationship after toxic relationship and abuse and different things like that. So as I was going through life, I was constantly basically saw myself as a victim. And it came to a point where all of a sudden I started having these physical symptoms in my body. So, it started with really simple things like bloating and headaches and fatigue and things like that. And as time went on, the symptoms started getting worse and worse. Enough so that I started going to see a doctor. And so the doctors would send me for testing. I would go for blood work and ultrasounds and CT scans and all of these things, trying to figure out what the heck was going on in my body. And constantly I was coming out of those appointments with no answers, with no diagnosis. They would just send me on my way, and I would go home and I would do my best to basically deal with the symptoms. But the problem was they were never going away, and I was never actually getting any help as to what I was supposed to do about it. And the thing with physical symptoms is that when they are ignored, they just get more severe in nature. So, it was this vicious cycle where you're just constantly wondering what's going on, going to seeing a doctor, being sent home, going for the test. Like, it was just this constant roller coaster ride that I just could not seem to get off of. And it was when I discovered the work of Louise Hay. So essentially, I reached a point in my medical care where the last doctor I saw basically said, "We have done a full workup on you. There is nothing physically wrong with you." He offered to put me on antidepressants, which I declined. And so I was just left at this roadblock where I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't I wasn't getting any help. And I was basically being told, "There's nothing more we can do for you. So good luck to you." And it was at that point that I started doing my own research, and I started, trying to figure out what was going on myself. And it was when I discovered the work of Louise Hay that instantly my soul pinged. And it was like, this is the answer I've been looking for. And what I discovered through her work is that trauma or trapped emotions or really stressful situations, all of these sort of negative emotions can get trapped in our body, and they can then manifest as physical symptoms. And so this is something that I had never known. And I'm so passionate about teaching this information to people now because I had no idea that my emotional baggage could manifest as physical symptoms, as a headache or a stomach ache or whatever the case was. There's such a wide range of somatic symptoms that can show up in the body. And so when I started discovering this, it was like I instantly knew, like, this is the answer I've been looking for, right? Like, I need to work on the inner stuff. I need to look at what is going on inside of me in order to heal the physical symptoms. And really, like, once I started taking that deep dive and actually, revisiting some of the trauma that I've been through, finding ways to release those emotions. So, like, talking to a coach or somebody who, you trust. Other things that I found really helpful were meditation or journaling, things that really to slow down your nervous system, because I had been living in this fight or flight situation in my body and my nervous system for 40 years, where it was just this constant fight or flight, constant, and you're just like constantly, in that mode. And so once I really started slowing things down, it signaled to my body that I was safe, that it was safe for me to feel the feelings, that in fact, I needed to feel the feelings in order to release those feelings. And so that's sort of where my journey to the Heal Your Life work sort of began. And, it all just sort of clicked together. So I don't know how much farther you want me to go, but that's sort of the backstory of, how I got to the point of becoming really ill, and it got to the point where it was controlling my entire life. And so something had to be done. I was missing a lot of time from work. I, was spending a lot of time in bed. I was just feeling, I don't know that I would say depressed, but just like really blah, just really, I just didn't care anymore, And so I would just go to bed, and that was the quality of my life. And I feel like there's so many people out in the world who are experiencing physical symptoms in their body. They aren't getting any answers, and no doctor's telling them to look at the emotional side to see if maybe that could be the answer that they are looking for. And so
Yes. Yeah, this is so true. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about, when we think of psychosomatic illness and the tendency to think about someone else, someone else who's going through it. Oh, it's all in their head, or
yeah.
all they're imagining it, and so on. But the thing to remember about psychosomatic illness is that it has actual physical symptoms.
Yes.
They are not all in their head. They're not imagining the stomach problems, the back problems, the whatever it might be. They are actual symptoms. And I'm imagining you on this roller coaster, and I'm thinking about other viewers and listeners. So you use the word roller coaster. So it's like, okay, go to the doctor. I think I'm going to get some answers. Yay, I'm happy. Nope, no answers again, sending me home, telling me nothing showed up, and it's fine, right? Drink more water, or whatever the advice might be, right? And for the viewers and listeners who are in this space right now of the roller coaster, they're on the roller coaster. Their nervous system is 100 out of 100. They're in fight or flight. What can they do now as a step one to help move forward?
Definitely, I would say the biggest shift for me was accepting that my emotional distress could actually be the cause of my physical symptom,
Mhm.
especially if any of the viewers or listeners are in a similar situation where they're experiencing a lot of, physical symptoms and they're getting zero diagnosis from a doctor. The first thing I would say is to recognize that it could be, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say that it is, but it's definitely a strong possibility that the trapped emotions or the trauma or the chronic stress has actually manifested as physical symptoms. So the thing that actually helped me the most was slowing things down. I feel like in today's society, it's like this hustle and grind society where it's just like go, 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 go all the time. And, I'm sure most people can relate to, you're going to work, you're looking after the kids, you're walking the dog, you're doing the groceries, you're doing the laundry, you got to pay all your bills, and, and you have all these things. Maybe your kids have extracurricular activities and you're running around doing all these things, right? So we're like, go, 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 go. And so when we actually slow things down, and this is where self-care really comes in my opinion, where you can just take a few moments for yourself, where you can just slow things down. For me, I really enjoy nature walks, are very calming for me. They're very grounding. It gives me time to just be present in my own body, be present in what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. So that's my number one favorite. But other things are like meditation made such a huge difference for me. It's not something I had ever done in my lifetime before, but what I found was when I actually slowed down and just, you don't have to like shut all your thoughts off, but just be mindful of the thoughts that you are having and what is coming up for you in that moment of stillness. I really found that when I took that time for myself and really got still, was like things would come up to the surface and I'd be like, oh, I had forgotten about that. Or, just different things. It just allows you to actually be present with what you're feeling and what you're thinking. So that was a really big one for me. And the third one, that my top three, so these are my top three, but journaling made a big difference for me too. At the time that I was sick, I was still in an abusive marriage. I'm not anymore, I'm happy to say, but at at that time, I was sort of going through it alone, shall we say. And so journaling just allowed me to actually express my feelings, to actually think about the things that I had been through and how I felt about them, you know? And what I really also discovered is that, like, you really need to feel the feelings in order to let them go. It's so easy for us to just swipe our feelings under the rug, put them in a tiny little box and, you know, throw away the key. And we're all guilty of that. We've all done it at some point in our lives where it's easier to just forget about it and move on. But the problem with that is that your body doesn't forget, you know, your mind doesn't actually forget. And so when we don't deal with our feelings, doesn't matter what it is, you know, it could be anger, it could be grief, it could be anything. But if we don't deal with those feelings, they get trapped inside of us. And at some point, they need a way to escape. So I really like to use the bucket analogy. So if you think of it as like you have a bucket, and every time you have a negative emotion, it drops in the bucket. You know, you're just forgetting about it, throwing it in the bucket, moving on. And eventually, the bucket keeps on filling and you just keep on putting those emotions in there, right? And moving on, moving forward with your life. At some point, that bucket's going to have an overflow. It's got to spill somewhere. And for me, that's when the physical symptoms started showing up in my body. My body was going, hello, excuse me. You know, you can't keep ignoring this any longer. You need to stand in your truth. You need to, you know, accept the things of the past, let them go, and then move on from them. And I have to say, Victoria, once I began that journey of actually feeling my feelings, actually finding a way for them to escape, everything changed. Like I started getting my health back. Of course, I did things like good nutrition. I made sure I went for walks and moved my body and things like that. All of the things that everybody knows you're supposed to do. So I was doing those in addition to my nature walks, meditation, and journaling. But as I was doing that, my mindset was also shifting, right? So here I was all of my life identifying as a victim. And as I worked through my feelings and found a way for them to escape, my mindset also shifted, where I finally recognized that doesn't need to be my identity. It might be something that happened to me in the past, but it's not who I am as a person. It's not anything that actually defines me, right? And so as you sort of work through those things, like I said, my mindset really started to shift. And what happens when your mindset shifts? You start making better decisions. You start making better choices. You start doing things that are in your highest good, right? And so that would be my advice for people, is just to slow things down, find a way to release those pent up emotions, and start shifting your mindset to having more positive thoughts, to what would I actually love? What would actually make me happy, you know, and sort
Yes.
of just shifting your mindset from this victim mentality to owning your power and realizing, like, I can actually create any life that I actually really want. So
Oh my gosh, Mandolin, that is such great advice and so clearly stated. I don't know if you're speaking on stages right now and presenting this information, but my goodness, you have it nailed down so well that it's so easy for us to follow. So thank you so much for that, because I completely agree with everything you're saying. And owning your power. I made some notes while you were talking. Owning your power, getting your health back. It's us, it's me who's in charge of my health and getting my health back and owning my power, and you with yours, and to each and every one of us listening, to not give our power away to, you know, teachers, doctors, family members, spouses, children, to know that when we stand in our own truth and we stand in our own power, all of those other things fall into line, like you were saying, because that mindset piece changes so much. I just really appreciate what you've shared here, and so well spoken. Now, I do understand that you are in the middle of working on a new book. Sometimes people like to talk about that and sometimes they don't. So I'll leave that up to you. I know your website is mandolinbrown.world. I'm going to put that in the show notes for everyone, but it is the spelling of the instrument, mandolinbrown.world, and on social media, mandolin_brown on YouTube, Instagram, and so on. So circling back to your book, do you want to talk about
I would love to talk about my book.
Ah, great.
So thank you so much for bringing it up, Victoria. I appreciate it. I'm actually super excited about the work that I'm doing. So I am writing a book on psychosomatic illness. It is called Shattered Illusions. It is still being written. So I'm in the works of creating this book, but it is a more in-depth look at psychosomatic illness and all of the things that we've really talked about today. I also share my personal story in the book so that people can sort of relate to different aspects of their own life. I hope that people will see a little piece of themselves in my story and then be able to see, like, I went from being way down here to way up here, and this is how I got there. Because I feel like if I can do it, you can do it too, right? And I
Yes.
never want anyone to go through it alone. It's such a hard journey when you are going through it alone and you're not getting any answers and your doctor's not helping you, and maybe your spouse isn't being supportive, or maybe they just don't understand, or maybe they actually think it's in your head too, right? And here you are suffering and going through all of these things. And I never want anyone to feel alone. And so that's why I'm writing the book is no doctor ever told me that my emotional distress could cause physical symptoms. And I
Yeah.
feel like this is information that needs to be more prevalent in the world. I had never even heard the term psychosomatic illness prior to that time, and I had no idea that this was something that could actually happen. It actually blew my mind that it was my trauma and my trapped emotions and all of the things that I had gone through in my life that were now manifesting as illness in my body. It was mind blowing to me. And I just feel like it's such an important topic. It's becoming more and more common. People are more and more stressed these days. Like I said, the society conditioning and the hustle and
Mhm.
grind and all of that. And we're all just so stressed out. And I just feel like it's such an important topic in the world that people understand that there is hope, that there is healing, and that it's absolutely possible for all of us. And so I'm super excited about this project, and I'm really looking forward to releasing it out into the world.
Well, we are really excited to have you back on the show when it comes out as well to talk about it more. Really looking forward to it. I've had the privilege of reading the business plan for the book, Mandolin's book, and it is so well written. I'm excited for everyone to share it. As we wrap things up, I wanted to just touch on something that Mandolin shared. She said, I was feeling down here and they weren't feeling up here. And for all of us watching and listening, to know that when we're feeling up here, it doesn't mean that there's unicorns flying by and sunshine and glitter everywhere we look. Real life is still happening. There is still all of the hustle and bustle, the surprises, the change, the other people, other people who have their own agendas crossing through our lives and so on as well. And so how do you maneuver all of the things and still manage to stay in this really high vibration mind space?
That's a great question, Victoria, because it's so true. Life doesn't change, but what does change is what is inside of you, is what is changed. The world around you is going to be the same. You're still going to have all of the same responsibilities and all of that. So it's really taking the time for yourself, even if it's only 5 minutes, and just doing some breathing exercises.
Yes.
Anything you can to just slow things down for a minute, because when you start doing the inner work, you start having a different outlook. And what I also found was as I was doing all of this inner work, right, like facing my shadows and really finding a way to move past all of that, something inside of me shifted. And
Yes.
the world was the same, but it was my outlook of the world that changed. And it was
Yeah.
the outlook of myself that changed. Like I really learned how to love myself again. And when you learn how to love yourself, I promise you, you will start doing things differently. And it's that shifting of your thinking, it's the shifting of how you respond to the outer world that makes all the difference, right?
Yes.
So while the outer world's not changing, what changes is in here, right? And when you can slow things down, when you learn to love yourself, like, I mean, really love yourself, respect yourself, give yourself a little bit of time, some self care, right? That just shifted everything for me. And then
Yes.
as you start doing all of that inner work, again, your mindset is also shifting. So it's in here that's changing. And how I respond to the world is what's changing. And so
Oh my gosh. Yes, Mandolin, those are great words of advice. And I'm just going to repeat them again for anybody who might have missed it. When you do the inner work, your outlook changes. When you do the inner work, being able to deal with the outer world changes. And so to remember to do those things for yourself. Mandolin, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have a favorite affirmation?
I think the one that I say to myself all the time is everything is working out in my highest good.
Yes.
No matter what chaos is happening in my life, I tell myself everything is working out for my highest good. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel that way at the time that you're going
Yes.
through a certain situation in your life. It can be really tough. But the thing to remember is that sometimes we go through those things to make room for something better. And so my favorite affirmation is everything is working out in my highest good. When I do encounter a tough situation, I just remind myself,
Yes.
this too shall pass. Everything's going to work out in my highest good. And I just throw that vibe out to the universe and let it take its course.
Ah, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Everyone, you can find Mandolin at mandolinbrown.world or on social media at mandolin_brown on all platforms. I have loved having this time with you, Mandolin. Thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Victoria. If I can just throw one more thing in there
Yes,
before
please.
you end the session, I just wanted to also mention that I am doing the Heal Your Life work. So I am a Heal Your Life coach and a workshop facilitator, and all of that information is found on my website if anyone's interested. I just wanted to let you know I'm also doing that work out in the world. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's actually how Mandolin and I met. Is Mandolin did the training for the Heal Your Life program. I can tell you firsthand, she is an amazing workshop teacher as well as coach. So one-on-one as well as small group coaching, really does a great job. Well, you know this from listening and watching already. She is in tune to what is going on. And so again, they can find that information on your website or contact you directly through the website. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you are sharing this work with the world and that no one has to feel alone. They can know that they can have you as a resource for how to get through the other side of all of this.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely here for you. Thank you so much, Victoria, for having me.
Oh, thank you.